Hey, everybody, welcome to the session here again tonight. I'm glad you guys are joining us. So tonight, I want to welcome all those that are new to the group. I want to spend a moment, since we've spent a lot of time going into some little bit deeper topics, and we've really discussed a lot of different things. I want to spend today talking about personal finance 101, kind of recapping a little bit of some of these, all the core topics that we've talked about, kind of pull it all together. And then, the next week we'll start back and start diving into some more deeper topics again. So tonight and it's a good refresher for everybody. So we're going to go through some of the kind of an overview of the things that we've already gone through as a refresher to make sure you guys are still doing these or that you're working on them. And for those of you that are new, it's a good introduction. So what we're going to do is kind of go through each of those. We'll visit the website and show you where the guides are and all those kind of things and what we've talked about so far, right? So let's begin with that. Personal Finance 101. You got to have the core principles of financial management, before you start doing the higher end things, before you start investing and saving and doing the retirement thing. You got to have the core principles. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard to get there, right? So let me share my other screen here. Let me do this screen share. There we go. All right, so let's start off where we started this whole thing. Let's talk about the treasure target real quick, right? Love this graphic. And we basically are working our way through all these topics to get to that experiential financial freedom in the middle, right? So let's go through this because this is at the cornerstone of some of the biblical principles of how that applies to financial terms of financial management, right? Well, let's look at this, the circle on the outside, the dotted lines. God owns it all, right? Well, let's just start there. It's not ours, it's His, and we're charged of being good stewards. So what does that mean? How do we be good stewards of what He has provisioned us? So that's kind of what we're talking about through all these days and nights, and what we're posting, what the group's about, so we can be good stewards for Him and what He's provisioned, right? There's a whole document out there I'll show you in a minute about faith and finances that goes a lot deeper into that, because when you look at the Bible, there's over 2,000 verses that are talk about money and stewardship, right? Now, not all 2,000 are direct with money, but some of them are about stewardship. Well, money is one thing that He's invested in us, and what He's bequeathed to us and trusted us with is the money. So let's look at this real quick. So the first part, live, up in this quadrant up here, spend less than you earn. You notice on all of these, there's a level 1, 2, and 3 as we work our way down into the center and we get to that financial freedom. So let's come through this real quick, and then we're going to talk about each of these as an overview. So first, we're going to be tracking our monthly spending. This goes into the budgeting aspect. We're going to create and maintaining a spending plan, and then we're going to set lifestyle to the finish line. Which, in other words, how much is enough, right? What is our lifestyle? And what's that threshold? So things that are at our threshold for our lifestyle, excess or margin, you're going to hear me refer to margin, above and beyond that, as we can bless others, and help those around us, right? So we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a sec as we go through the overview. Get over to give generously. Got to start somewhere. You got to start giving. Make your way into percentage giving. That's the tithing. And then sacrificial giving, that's more the offering, because offering is different than tithing. Offering is above the tithe, right? Sacrificial giving. So if we're living within margin, what margin means is, look, we have our lifestyle, we're paying our bills, we don't have the excess, we're saving for our retirement, we're helping our kids, those kind of things. But above that, we're helping others, right? We're giving generously, and that should be our goal. Is yes, we want to have a comfortable and happy retirement, and also be able to bless others. That's where what I consider experience financial freedom, that we're able to do all that. And then, of course, we have the O section. Repay credit card debt's first step. Repay all debt except for mortgage is the second step. It's, in other words, student loans, IRS debts, things like that, personal loans, those kind of things. And then we work our way into repay mortgage. hopefully the goal would be to repay your mortgage before you get to retirement. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. We've talked about retirement already a little bit. But we're going to dive deeper into that and the timing of those things. All right. Then we move over to grow. We all want our money to grow. We want to do better. We want to, increase. But first, we got to maintain margin, right? We got to maintain the margin. We got to be realistic, set our lifestyle, set goals and parameters, set those guardrails, if you will. So the first thing is save for emergencies. Set up that emergency fund. Second thing is to save to 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Notice there's two things. You may say, well, isn't that the same? No, there's really two different emergency funds. One, is the first one. The first one is a shorter term. Hey, your car breaks down, appliances break, something that is more short term, not as expensive. The second rung there is a second emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. That's if something more catastrophic happens. Lose your job, or you get injured and disability hasn't kicked in yet, those kind of things. And then the last thing is save for God-given goals. That's where we're saving for our retirement so we can retire happy, and so we can also save to give generously, right? So most everything we talk about is all centered. We can fit into this circle, into these circles, right? There's a lot of different quadrants there, but we can fit it all into there. And then of course we're going to expand on each of those. We have in the past. I'm going to go over you what each of those exactly mean. Now, for those of you that are new, you can go back and watch all the old videos. You can go back and look at the guides, and you can go through all that at your own pace. We will repeat some things down the road, but those of you that are joining now, and you have a chance to go in and catch up, it won't take you long. Most of the videos are anywhere 20 to 30 minutes. Some are shorter, right? So let's do this while we're now that we have the treasure target, right? We know what we're honing in on. Let's go back into the website just for the new people. Or the Facebook page rather, I'm sorry. So we can show you a little bit about where all this is. So once we get in there, there's this guide section. So you hit guides, and mine may look a tad different than yours just because I'm the admin. But in this guides, every week, or most weeks, I should say, I'm going to put out guides out there, right, from the video. At minimum, you're going to have the video recorded. So if you miss the live broadcast, no fret. You can come back to the page. Find the video, watch it, the replay. You can also go to my YouTube channel and watch it there. I'll show you that in a minute. The first thing up here, if you haven't already, please watch the group welcome video. You should have been tagged in a post. Watch that and read the descriptions all the way through so you kind of get an idea what we're about. So you go to the guides top, and guys, this is why I'm on the desktop. If you're in your phone, you're going to have to go to the upper left-hand corner, look at the little menu thing, and you'll see a guides piece in there. Once you click on it and expand out, it looks like a little hamburger menu. So here I have this type of investments up top because I'm trying to put the latest ones up there. So, but if we're going in order, the first one is faith and finances. Our first session, we talked about biblical principles and how faith and finances relate together. This document kind of walks you through some core principles of that and how it relates into all the different sections that we're talking about. Take a look at that. You can look at it here. You can download it. Treasure target we just viewed. 4 H's of financial wisdom. I want you to look at this, right? I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it, but let's see. Let's just pull it up real quick so you know what it looks like. I want you to, for those of you that haven't done this yet or not done it, pull this up, and I want you to look at the 4 H's of financial wisdom. And actually, it's give me a little hard time there. So we're going to look at those different quadrants. It's pretty self-explanatory, kind of about, and it relates directly back into that treasure target. Take a look at this, read the first page, kind of get a grasp for it. Go to the second page. You can fill that second page out. It kind of gives you a guide of where you stand with your finances and your mindset when it comes to finances. So actually, when you click on this, it's going to ask you to download it. So it will download it. So take that out. And then the great thing is you can do that now, and then later on, once you kind of get better at all this, you go through our courses and you're in a better shape, you can go back and retake it and see what kind of progress you made. It's a great little tool, both for where you're at financially, but also a mindset to get us in the right mindset, for that. So let's continue down. You got faith and finances, treasure target, 4 H's, setting priorities. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to actually pull this one up. Actually, let me do that now. Let's just pull the priority. So there's a difference between priorities and how God wants things and how the world wants things, right? So the world's priorities, lifestyles. Well, notice in the treasure target, we set lifestyles kind of last. We want to take care of all the other things, and lifestyle is down at the bottom. But the world one says lifestyles, and then of course you got to pay your taxes. Oh, then go ahead and pay, your debt, and then save, and then give. Right. What the result of that is usually overspending because we set our lifestyle up here before really ever knowing what we have, what our goals are, and what really our debts are and our taxes. It's kind of backwards. You put the cart before the horse. If you look over to the right, God's priorities and the way He wants us to handle things, and this is actually core, makes sense. It's financial principles that truly make sense. Of course, giving, that's productive giving. We want to set our giving threshold. God's going to bless you if you give. You give your tithe, God is going to bless you. It's the one thing that I actually test me at in the Bible, in the scriptures. Saving and investing. Second, we want to be ready for emergencies. We want to be ready for our future. We want to be ready to help others. Okay. Debt repayment, that's your obligations. Then you're going to set your lifestyle last, right? Once we have all this stuff to care of, then we're going to set our long-term lifestyle, and that's going to lead to contentment. Big difference between overspending, which gives us no margin, to on the right-hand side, you have results that give us contentment. I know a lot of us battle with contentment. I battle with contentment of what we have and where we need to be. But to get to that financial freedom, to get to that financial, contentment, we got to take care of these other things first. All right, so let me jump back into the website here, or the Facebook page. All right, so as we go down, we're going to set our priorities. You got to set those things and write them down, get in the mindset. So you're going to do that after the 4-H's document. Then paying down debt. If you have debt, we want to pay down the credit cards first, and then we get into the installment loans, and then like student loans. Take a look at this document. I talk about a couple different debt repayment methods. Go back and watch the video. But the debt snowball method, by far, in my mind, is what I recommend, because it gives you some mini wins, and it's a mindset thing. It gives you some victories. And I've seen the snowball method work so much better than what I also call there the debt avalanche thing. That basically, the debt snowball, you take your smallest debt first, pay that off, and then everything you have from there that you were paying, you apply to the second one, and it just kind of starts snowballing. You get those mini wins. It's a psychological thing. It's very, very, very powerful versus doing it the other way around. A lot of good tidbits and tricks in that document as well. Then we got into the retirement checklist and blunders. So, all right, what does it mean to save for retirement? What exactly does that mean? Of course, this is something that's passionate for me. I love helping people with retirement. My passion is I want to help people be financially responsible, educated, and be ready for retirement so you can retire happy. There's too many people in the United States, and in the world for that matter, that are not ready for retirement. They work your whole life and then you're miserable in retirement. That's where my passion's at. You work hard. I want you to be able to enjoy your retirement. What exactly does that mean? Well, you got to have the core principles first. So the retirement checklist goes through what the core principles of retirement planning are and the different aspects of it. I find most people, when they review that, definitely go back and watch the video for this one. It's eye-opening for me. I got tons of comments from people about it. It was a little eye-opening. They didn't really realize all those things. And so as we work our way through the different topics, we're diving into all those different things from the checklist and what those mean. And it's money, but it's also well-being and the happiness factor for your retirement and how we get there. So definitely check that video out and check that checklist out. And then there's debt myths and credit health. So we talked about debt earlier. This kind of talks about some of the misconceptions of debt and how you get your credit healthy, right? How do you recover your credit if you have issues there? Building an emergency fund lays out how you do it, some ideas of how to be sacrificial to make that happen, and some ideas. It talks about the two different types of emergency funds that I talked about in the treasure target, right? And then we took a break here and went back. 9 core principles from Bible verses about money. So there's a faith and faith document up front that kind of lays all out in the different topics. And then this gets a little bit deeper. It gives you a lot more passages rather from the scriptures. It takes kind of 9 principles of finances and money, how it relates to the Bible, how the Bible relates to that, and some of the scriptures that go along with it. It's amazing how the scriptures tie in and how they teach us solid financial wisdom. It's fantastic. Retirement, are you ready? This one hand in hand with the checklist. Definitely watch the Retirement Are You Ready and go through this document. Between the checklist and this one, it's where I got the most comments from, especially this one. I'm going to correct myself there a little bit. The Retirement Are You Ready really opened the eyes for some people what it takes to really plan for retirement. And like I said, we're working our way through all those different topics. We're going to dive into each of them a little bit more. Check that video out. Check that document out for sure. And then there's always, you can go to the Facebook group to watch the videos. You can also go to the YouTube channel. I have a link here, and I'll put it up here on the screen too. You look at it. There we go. Woo. He doesn't like me doing that. So the RetireWise website, or excuse me, YouTube channel, I also have a link here on the page, so you can always check it out. If you miss a recording, you can't find it, go to the YouTube page. If you miss it live, go to the Facebook page or the YouTube channel and check it out. They're there for you. I'll jump into the YouTube page and navigate that for you in a second to show you where it's all at. So that's kind of where we've been to date. There's some testimonials down there. Being a little slow today. In section, when you come up, I'll also have featured things. I'll pin things to the top of the group periodically. There's things out here where there's a financial well-being, planning and well-being. I'm always going to have some of the last videos are going to be up there. And so if you can't find the other videos, like I said, you can scroll down, or you can also go to the video section of the Facebook page, or definitely go to the YouTube page. All right, perfect. So those are the main different areas that we're talking about, right? So when we talk about the treasure target and we talk about some of the core principles, so let's start with this, right? And that's the first session we did. You got to set a budget. You got to track your finances. You got to track the transactions. Do you know where your money's going? It's amazing. I want you to do it for at least 3 to 6 months. You set a budget up. And by the way, in there, I also posted some template budgets. I go through them on the video for that budgeting. Hit me up if you have any questions about it. But first, you got to set a budget. And then you got to track your money. And I talk about it in that video, so you know where it's going, where your adjustments need to be. That way, you know how much margin you have to save, to put toward debt, to build those emergency funds. The first step is set a budget and track it. Now, you don't have to track it forever, but in order to get to a solid budget, you want to do that, right? And I find with me and with a lot of people, once you start doing it, you'll end up doing it, permanently. It just becomes a habit. It's really not a big deal. That's the create and maintain a spending plan. After you set a budget, you're going to tweak it a few times as you go through, but definitely check that out. And then we go over to the giving thing. Definitely start the mindset of giving, that 10% off top, the tithing. God said, test us in this. Factor that into your budget. Okay. Then we went into the O and how you get down and pay down your debt. Go into that document, and you got to take care of that debt before you go in and start investing. Now, some people, depending upon where you're at, you can start investing a little bit if you're really close to the payoffs, and you don't necessarily have to go all the way through. I'm not saying pay all your debt off. You got to pay the credit cards off and the installment loans off, but like student loans and some of those other things, and definitely your mortgage, you don't have to wait to pay that off before you invest. So there's a timing aspect to that, but definitely the credit cards, installment loans, let's take care of those things first. And then after you get your debt taken care of, build that first emergency fund for those short-term emergencies, and then save for the 3 to 6 months for the bigger term. In that video and in that document, I talk about how much you need to save for that. Okay. All right. So I want to go through and kind of circle back around to some of the core principles. We're tying all the biblical principles back to, or the financial principles back to Bible principles. And like I said earlier, it's amazing that the wisdom that the Bible gives us and how it relates to today and the core principles. I'll be honest with you, I've been doing finances for a long time. And before I dove into what the Bible has to say about it, I was astonished when I went in there and was reading all these different verses, and I was studying them and how I put that faith and finance document together a while back, of how much what I've already been teaching to people as far as the foundations of financial wisdom and the best practices is really the Bible has laid that out, 2,000 years ago. But let's talk about it for a second, right? Money doesn't have a life, right? It can't take action on its own. It's not good. It's not evil. It can only do what you tell it to do. So you're the driver of it, right? Well, that leads me to the next thing that most people quote incorrectly. Money is not the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil, right? The love of money. God gave us money. He provisioned us money. He wants us to do his work with his money. He's provisioned it to us. He wants us to be good stewards and use it to glorify his kingdom. Yes, he gave us money to take care of ourselves and be wise with it, but hopefully be generous and glorify him as well. But it's the love of money, because if you start loving money before you're being a good steward for him, that's where the slippery slope happens. We start going down the wrong tracks, right? And that mindset starts taking over, which leads in, and I mentioned that's Timothy 6:10. Leads me into the next one. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Ties right back into the love of money, right? That comes from Matthew 6:24. Again, money is not a bad thing. God wants us to have money. He wants us to be successful. And you'll find that out there as well. He even talks, there's even scriptures. If you go into that faith and finance document, there's a section in the 9 core principles document, there's a section about go get that money. He wants us to be successful, because if we're successful, we can glorify him. We can help those around us. We can be generous. And it's not that he doesn't want good things for us, but he wants us to be good stewards, and he'll bless us for that. Right. But we're worshiping God. We're not worshiping the money, which is where I love this saying. When it comes to money, you either worship wealth or you worship, when it comes to money, you either worship wealth or you worship with your wealth. And I misquoted that there on the thing. It should be your wealth, right? So think about that for a second. When it comes to money, you either worship wealth or worship with your wealth. What's the difference there, right? How can you worship with your wealth? It's blessing others. It's giving generously. It's helping those around us. It's glorifying God's kingdom, right? That's worshiping with your wealth. Worshiping wealth is being selfish, not being content. It's all about me and what the world wants me to have, what I want to have. I got to do better than the Joneses. So if nothing else, keep in on that phrase. It's kind of centers around everything that we talk about and around the treasure target. All right, so that's a really quick synopsis of some of the core things that you really need to go through before we start getting into the deeper topics that we're doing in retirement, investing. We haven't gone through all that yet. So please go back to the videos, go back to the guides if you haven't watched them already and read through them. Take your time, go through them. If you cannot find them on the webpage, go to the YouTube channel and let's launch that real quick just so I can show you where it's at. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you come down to the bottom, there's a Christian Families Financial Education. If you click on it, you can click on each one individually, but if you click on it, it will go through here and you can find the different videos, that we were talking about. So replays are there for you at any given time. All right. If you have questions, feel free, hit me up on Facebook, send me a message. If you want to schedule a time to go a little bit deeper or just ask questions, you want to talk in person, here's my Calendly link to my calendar, schedule a time. I'm more than happy to help out and talk to you about it. When you're watching this, hit me up on the comments. Let me know you're watching it live or whether you're doing a replay. A lot of people right now are doing replays. I know everybody's busy, but let me know how you're watching it. Definitely hit me up. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, send me a message, send me a calendar invite. We can talk. We can do it on phone, we can do Zoom or whatever it may be. In coming weeks, we're going to re-pick back up and go into some more topics. We're going to dive deeper into retirement planning. We're going to go deeper into investing. There's some investing 101 stuff in there, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into that and start pulling that all together. We'll talk about a few other things as well that are a little more higher end on the financial spectrum. But I wanted to take a pause here for a minute and get everybody up to speed. For those of you that are new to the group, a refresher. For those of you that have been in the group for a little while, we're going through. So guys, I hope this was beneficial to you. Hit me up if you have questions. Look forward to next week and our future topics. God bless. You guys have a great evening, and we'll talk next week.